Appreciate you joining us today before I know you make the trip to Pocono and head down to the first ever NASCAR Cup Series doubleheader this weekend. So we already have several questions in the queue, so we're just going to start with questions. Just a friendly reminder to our media, when you have a question, just feel free to raise your hand within the Zoom platform or send us a chat as well. And we are going to take our first question from Claire B. Lang. Claire, go ahead.
Thank you. Joey, when you look at racing 2 races at Pocono, is that exciting to you to figure like how much you think you can improve from Saturday to Sunday? And what's in your mind about doing a doubleheader?
Well, I think with these double headers, and especially at Pocono, I kind of, in a way, I look at Darlington earlier when we came back from our little break is almost a double header because, we raced, and then a couple of days later we come back, and it was a completely different race. Yes, the length of and the stages and all that were different as well, but if you looked at who the dominant car was that no one can keep up with, and then we come back there a few days later and everyone has changed their cars, and that car that was the dominant car was, still good, but not nowhere near as strong as he was. So I would expect the same thing at Pocono without practice, and that's what we've seen all year long so far since we've come back without practices. Some teams hit it, some teams completely miss it, and you can't really fix your car the way you want to until the race is over, and you really can't do much about it once the race is over. Well, here, this is our opportunity to work on our car and get better the next day. And so it's going to be a lot of work, I think, over the night. When we're done racing Saturday, we're going to be far from done for that day. We're going to be continuing to try to find our weaknesses, look at areas to improve our car, and give it another shot the next day. So it's just going to be a hectic couple days for sure, with a lot on the line. But I will say this, I've said this 100 times since we've announced the doubleheader at Pocono, but I know after every race I always say, dang it, I wish I could do that again. I would do this and this and this different. And every time, every race, I always say that. Well, this time I get the chance to actually do it again and hopefully be better.
So Toyota has won the last 5 races at Pocono, and Joe Gibbs Racing's Kyle Busch 3 wins, Denny Hamlin 5 at Pocono. And then you look at Kevin Harvick, who's not won there. What's the driver element of this? You talk about the car setup, but what about the driver side? And are you surprised that a guy like Kevin Harvick hasn't won at Pocono?
I think if you look at just the speed that they've had, though, the Ford's not slow there. Maybe all the stars haven't aligned yet to win the race, but, I could think of multiple times that I feel like we should have won, and we've had a car that can win there. And strategy is just a big player of Pocono. Track position is huge. Throughout this race, at some point, I'm pretty sure, because it's gone this way for years now, that you're going to have to make a decision whether you want stage points and try to get a playoff win or playoff point by winning a stage and collecting some stage points, or, giving up, your stage points for track position later in the race and a chance to win. Those are decisions that we're all going to have to make. Do you want the finish, or do you want the points that are sitting right in front of you right now? It's a tough call. It probably depends a lot on the speed in your race car to make that decision, but that's a tough call. And that's what, to me, makes Pocono so much fun, is because, yes, restarts are crazy. It becomes a little bit challenging to pass once we get going, but the strategy calls that can be played is crazy. To where you don't even know where you're running sometimes. One point you're running in the top 5, and next thing you know, you're 25th, and you're like, well, what just happened? So it's just how Pocono works. And because you can pit without going down a lap, if you're, I think, 11 or 12 seconds back from the leader. So it just presents a lot of opportunity there.
Good luck, okay?
Thanks.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Zach with the Pocono Record. Zach, go ahead.
Joey, thanks for taking the time today. I guess the first question is, with having 2 races here this weekend, what are you going to be looking most toward, I guess, during that first race on Saturday to adjust toward on Sunday? And then also, these are going to be super short races compared to what you've run previously here at this track. How is that going to change the intensity of this race?
Well, I mean, I think you always kind of go on the restarts here because that's your big opportunity to pass. So the intensity level, I don't think changes, or at least for me. Maybe it does for others, but I'm wide open from when the green flag drops. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's just the way I race, and it's worked out all right. So I'm going to say it's good, at least for me. But, you know, I think the biggest thing we're going to be looking towards is the PJ1 that's down on the racetrack. You know, they lowered it a little bit from what we've raced there in the past last year. And, you know, when we first get there, I believe the truck race is before our race. But then there's going to be an Xfinity race and then another Cup race. That's going to be evolving throughout the weekend of how much it's used and what that does to your car. So that is definitely, to me, the big question mark of the weekend from a racing standpoint of, you know, what line becomes the dominant line, you know, and what do we need to do to adjust towards that as the race goes and as the weekend goes. So, you know, I'm going to be glued to the TV to watching the truck race to see where that ends up, you know, to try to take advantage of that early in our race.
Okay, we'll take our next question from Daryl Kinsey. Daryl, go ahead.
Thank you. And Joey, with, as you said, with the PJ1 being moved down, you know, last year you guys didn't use it a lot. Do you think that once it gets run in a little bit by the truck race on Saturday, that you guys would go up there more, maybe by Sunday, that PJ1 area becomes the dominant line during the race?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I would say yes, but there's always, who knows, right? A lot of it depends on, you know, how early we get up there and clean it off. How thick it's applied is a pretty big player on how that works. And how the truck race goes. You know, if trucks are up there, it's going to run in pretty quick and it'll be good for our race. If they don't, it's going to get really dirty and it's going to be not very good for our race. But my thoughts are the fact that they lowered it down, I think it's 3, maybe 4 feet. Don't quote me on that because I don't know exactly what it is, but I think it's 3-ish feet. We'll call it ish. You can quote ish. That will kind of make everyone get up in there sooner, I believe. Because if you're in the second lane, you're in it. You know, so on restarts, you can't avoid it if you're too wide. You know, so that's going to kind of naturally clean it off.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Eric Smith with Race Review Online. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, Joey, we're about halfway through the regular season now. How would you rate the crew chief changes that you guys have had in the offseason coming into this year now that all 3 of you have won a race so far?
Yeah, so I was going to say, all of us got to win, so I'd say pretty good. You know, I look at, you know, coming out of the gates with the 22 cars, one I could probably speak to the most, obviously, because I drive that one, with Paul Wolf and that whole team. We came out of the gates super strong, being able to win at Vegas and then right after in Phoenix, getting a dual win down in Daytona. We came out of the gates super strong. You know, and I'd say since then we've had opportunities to win. Bristol comes to mind. We've had some other races that we were close, and you know, you're in the ballpark. Particularly on the 750 races, I think has been our strong ones. Our 550 races have been our weakness that we need to continue to work on throughout the season. The challenging part to all this is there's no practice. That's the most challenging part of having a new crew chief and trying to build that relationship up and what works and what doesn't work. It's, you know, we're going to these racetracks together for the first time, you know, and although I've been there 100 times and he's been there 100 times, we've never done it together. You know, so we're trying to put 2 and 2 together of what I like and what it's worked for him in the past with Brad. And it's just, that's a tough combination to put together without practice. And I think that's why we came out of the gate so strong, is because we had practice to tune our car in to be ready to go for the race. You know, we're some practice would be nice at this point, as there's some questions that we're definitely wanting to answer. But this weekend kind of presents that opportunity with a doubleheader to figure that out. But to answer your question of the whole change in general, I think it's really worked well for Team Penske. I think it's opened a lot of communication barriers and has broke those walls down where, you know, you're forced to talk to each other about your previous races. And I think that's been great. You know, I honestly was happy to see the 12-team win. You work with those guys for so long. That was my old team. So, I was with them for 8 years or so. And, I was happy to see them be successful early in the year already with a lot of top fives, but grabbing that win in Talladega. It was cool to see Todd and the boys grab that. So, I think it's brought the team closer, in my opinion.
And do you see it as an advantage that all three of you have won? Granted, I know there's only 2 tracks left of the regular season that are playoff tracks, but is there any kind of advantage there that you guys could be maybe a little more aggressive elsewhere?
Oh, for sure. I don't know if it's from an aggressive standpoint, but a momentum standpoint is definitely there. Whether any team that wins within Team Penske, I think builds momentum throughout the shop. The guys building the cars, everyone, working in each department. When somebody wins at Team Penske, you think about, the sponsors, all our partners, everyone that goes along with this, they're happy. There's momentum, there's confidence in what we're doing, and that just trickles down, I think, throughout all 3 teams, no matter what. So, obviously you want that win to be your car. Don't get me wrong, but I do believe a win is good for everybody.
Awesome. Thanks. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks, man.
Okay, we're going to take our next question from Simone Stanley. Simone, go ahead.
Hey, Joey. Just wanted to ask you, with it being a doubleheader at Pocono this weekend, can you see yourself taking, any more, maybe some chances that you wouldn't necessarily to take if it wasn't a doubleheader, this weekend, or you kind of just have a same mindset going into both races?
Yeah, honestly, my mindset stays the same. It's go from the green flag. Whether we're racing tomorrow or not, I'm going to go. Now, the inversion is something that you really want to make sure you're in, right? Because, the last thing you want to do is finish 21st and you miss the invert, and that would really stink. So you want to make sure you're within that. If you're not having a good day one way or another, is if you have an issue, whether it's on pit road or getting a crash or something like that, you can almost make both races bad, right? Where if you can have at least a mediocre day, you can set yourself up for a good day the next one by the invert. So the goal is to win both of them. We're not going to lay up for an invert. I can promise you that. So you're aggressive the whole time. Yeah.
Thanks, Joey. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Okay, we have time for one more question, and we're going to take that question from Alex with the Charlotte Observer. Alex, go ahead.
Hey, Joey. I actually have 2 quick questions, if I can squeeze them both in. My first one is just about, Team Penske said that they had 1 employee test positive for COVID-19, and cases are still on the rise in Charlotte, at least. So I'm wondering if there's anything that the team's doing, if there's extra precautions that the team is taking, just right now or kind of during these next couple weeks.
Well, I think the extra precautions have started, from the get-go. And I think, if you look at Team Penske, I can't speak for all the teams, but I know they are very strict about how they're taking this virus and taking it so seriously. Everybody in that place has a mask on all day long. If you get on the team plane, you're mask and rubber gloves the whole time. They've done a really good job at that. If you look at who else they needed to quarantine after that, it is a very small group because everyone has been so strict at Team Penske to where it doesn't shut down our whole race shop because we've done a really good job at social distancing where we can, but also wearing, our PPE all the time. And that's the most important things we can do. So to me, some of the best advice I got out of this whole thing is assume everyone has coronavirus and what would you do, right? And, you're obviously not going to shake someone's hand. You're going to stay a little bit more distant. You're going to wear your mask. You're going to wash your hands off and, or use hand sanitizer. You're going to do that stuff. If you have that mindset that, the person next to you has COVID-19, you're going to obviously be nervous about it. So I've tried to treat everybody like they have COVID-19 and that's at least my way of trying to stay safe. But I think, in general, our sport's done a really good job at it. And I think Team Penske is done, I think, even better in my opinion.
Thank you. And then just a quick, pivot, I guess. You had the video on Twitter right after, NASCAR announced that the noose was found in Bubba Wallace's garage stall. How do you think this whole week has played out, and kind of how do you feel about NASCAR's handling of this whole situation?
Well, I think what I applaud NASCAR for the most is honesty, right? And that's kind of where it was, right? I mean, you heard Steve Phelps' interview yesterday, where he came out in the clean. He said, "This is what we saw. We didn't, at the time know it's it's a hate crime or not, but it's something that should not be around. I can tell you that much." And I applaud our family of NASCAR. Not just their officials and the NASCAR brass, right? That tells us to do things. What you saw on the racetrack Monday after the rain, with all the drivers, all the team members, all the officials, pushing Bubba Wallace's car to the front and standing around it and showing that he's part of our family, that we're not seeing color. It doesn't matter. Yes, we compete. Yes, we all want to win, and we don't care about, anything about besides just winning. But when we put our helmet on, but when our helmet is off, it's love. Choose love. Bubba and other minorities in our sport are part of our family, and that's the way we want to treat our people, and that to me was the coolest story of it. The news side of it, and taking the right precautions by getting the FBI involved and getting to the bottom of the story. I'm so thankful that they come to the bottom of it and know that it's not a hate crime, something that was there, in a previous race. Not that the news should be around anywhere, or however you want to look at this, but kudos to NASCAR to getting to the bottom of it, and then honestly telling everybody what happened, and then also the sport showing the support for Bubba. That's what, to me, I was proud to be a part of. To me, I thought it was a history-making day, and I thought it was really cool to be a part of that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Joey, thank you for your time today, and we wish you the best of luck this weekend in Pocono.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Stay safe.